I thought you might not come. I was like, we are not going to get our deposit back. We should probably introduce you since we've already been talking a little bit.
Okay. I thought this was pre-stuff, but yeah, go ahead.
It's you know, it all starts, it stops, we can do whatever. But this is Jordan.
This is me.
Jordan Claiborne. I've known you for how long?
13 years. 13 years.
Is it really? No.
Yeah.
I bet you, well, yeah.
12 years, yeah.
Wow.
Did you guys meet in high school?
Yeah, we met in middle school.
Exactly.
we met in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Houston, Texas. Ugh.
We were both doing clinicals of some sort.
Couldn't wait to get out of there.
We found each other probably through, I think, Tinder.
It was Tinder,
But it was
yeah.
like, but we were
Cool.
like, we met and already kind of knew like the friend vibe was just a really good energy.
It was, yeah. I remember being really sad when you left. I was like,
Aw.
finally found a normal person, in all of Houston. And of course, you finished up your last clinical and you were like off to Fort Myers.
Wow.
I remember.
What a trade.
Yeah. I know.
Right. What a trade.
Yeah.
So we really bonded because we were both going through a similar experience. School is traumatic for many different reasons, but you were definitely like who I clung to. So thank you for helping me get through that.
Thank you.
And look at us
Same
now.
For me, now look at us. Full
We're back in
circle in LA.
Back in the same city, but still never seeing each other.
No, you know, what is that about?
I
Why
think-
is that a thing in LA?
I
Well,
don't know. I think everyone is busy, I guess, like you said before.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's hard because we try to make time for people, but then people also need to make time for us.
so it's like a constant scheduling conflict. I mean, we've been here since December. You know we've been here since December, and you haven't made an effort. I haven't made an effort, though,
So,
either.
I got really genuinely excited when I knew you were coming, and I was like, oh, great, another normal friend, somebody that's like cares about things of substance and
Sure.
depth, and here we are.
But we're just connecting now, so
You
this could
know,
be the
on
beginning.
camera, yeah, look at this. The start of something great.
So you didn't start in Houston. You started in Oklahoma.
I started in Oklahoma.
Wow.
How was that?
When people would say Oklahoma, I would just roll my eyes or just like, I wouldn't even feel the need to introduce anything about
Sure,
Oklahoma.
right,
I'm just
sure.
like, don't worry about it. Don't go there. There's nothing there for you there. Like, stay away.
Yeah.
But I've come to love the way that it shaped my younger years
Yeah.
and get past the trauma because there was a lot of like things that I now would like are ass backwards and I
Sure.
can see that
Sure.
from the outside, but it was definitely wild being a black gay man in
Right.
Gaiman.
a gay man in
Even to add complexity to that, though, you were multicultural, right? You have white family members. You have a European heritage too.
I
so
do. Oh, good memory.
how did you know which one was the dominant?
Look, I would say that I had a very different experience from my siblings.
Sure.
And the typical mixed experience is like you're not black enough for the blacks,
Right.
you're not white enough for
Yeah.
the whites. You're just like on the edge because you get it, but you don't quite get
Right.
it. And they feel safe, but not quite safe enough around you. So you can just see that you're like, you might have a best friend that's white and a best friend that's black. And if you were to date the best friend's sister, they'd be like, oof, we're tight, but I don't want my sister to marry a black guy.
Wow.
And so we're still best friends though, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like,
Right.
of course. How stupid of me
Sure.
to
right.
consider
my
marrying up.
Oh my God.
And so like that was just a stigma that it took me a while to get out of. But I also knew that it was bullshit and dumb.
Sure.
My whole like from the time I can remember was like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
What
Yeah.
am I gonna do to get out of this tiny town called Spiro, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
again, it has a special place in my heart. My aunt and uncle are still there, and like I don't know, like it's beautiful,
Yeah.
but I would never raise a family there. I wouldn't consider it.
You're pretty close to your family, though, and you,
Yeah.
from what I remember, you always have been. So would you say that kind of insulated you a little bit from maybe the experience?
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm the youngest of 6,
Wow.
4 girls, and older brother who's the oldest. I'm the youngest, and so any type of they were all Mama Bear and Papa
Yeah.
Bear.
Wow.
They got into so many fights over me, and I would just be standing in the corner like, like literally my
Right.
family's crazy. Would go to battle for me, and I got called like gay boy or fag from like the other black guys because I
Right.
mean,
You
it's
stood
just
out.
the goal. Thank you. I definitely. I stood
you're
out because I
tall,
care.
You're
Oh,
super
that's that
cute.
good?
You're very
Thank
like
You're so sweet.
youthful features.
I'm just different.
And you are always funny. Like ever since I've met you, you use humor, I think, to make new friends. I think you use humor to soften like issues that are bothersome for you. And I think that's
For
also
sure.
what I really enjoyed about hanging out with you when we first met, is that I was traumatized. I was like freaking out about getting matched into residency and a stressful time living in Houston. I had no money. I didn't even know how I was gonna get from A to B. And you were just always this like bag of light and energy and humor. You
Thank
made
you.
fun of everything with that like wink, wink, nudge, nudge to where the
It's like, yeah, you're okay.
yeah.
Like I'll make fun of it. We can laugh about it. But like, are you okay? And that's like a lot of people do. They laugh
Yeah.
to dissociate and be like, oh, I'll laugh at myself first. It's not a big deal if I like
Right.
laugh at the trauma, laugh at everything. So
Yeah.
I learned to do that, and I don't know, it became part of my personality. But I'm trying to actually like move beyond that.
Sure.
And my like, I don't know, my recent encounters with people and with like experiences that come up when I'm like doing any type of like therapy work or anything like that. So I'm
Right.
like, okay, what? Like, is this funny or
Yeah.
is this
Just like-
am I like dissociating? Like, I don't even trust the laughs anymore.
Right. I
But
get
yeah,
you.
but it's
I mean, it's
I wouldn't change
definitely a great defense mechanism and a great way
sure.
to digest the trauma that continues to be around us. The problem is some people don't find our humor as funny, but I did.
or offensive. Dude, I'm like, lighten up. It's just a joke.
You know, it's tough being queer. We learn these, again, ways of getting around some of
But
the trauma.
You're right. Not everybody can take it. And
Yes.
I'll say that I've encountered a lot of people here in LA that I don't know, they're just a little stiff, and I feel
Yeah.
like I have to have a filter.
Maybe it's the city. Maybe it's the intensity of like living in a fast pace. I don't know.
I definitely
Like-
think that in recent years, people got more sensitive to jokes.
Yeah.
And
Is it that? Is it like, oh, you're not
Could
supposed to
be.
say that, or like,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna
Yeah.
for
give
sure.
other person a complex if you say
Yeah.
this, and I'm like,
I think it's knowing who you're talking to. I think the other difficulty is now we're older and we both work in like a point of authority in some capacity. We see patients and now we have to be professional, but we still can connect with our friends and you know, have this sort of banter. But as we mentioned, as you get older, it's really hard to
Yeah.
connect with your friends because, as you probably can relate, when you're out of work, you want to spend time with your partner. You want to spend time
or
with
just
your
literally
dog.
staring at the walls,
or just
like
sleep.
unwinding. Like, I just want to be, leave me alone, everybody.
Did you know when you were in Oklahoma that you wanted to eventually move to LA? Was that like something that you had always dreamed about?
I knew that I needed to get out of Spiro, and for me, I thought that was wow. Oklahoma City is so big.
Right.
Have you
Right.
ever been to Oklahoma City?
I never been.
It's not big at all. It's like what can I liken it to? It's like maybe like Bakersfield. Or
Okay,
like,
we've been
Oh,
there.
yeah.
or
we just
Victorville
drove
or
by
something. It's just
Okay.
not big. There's not
Right.
much happening there. But I haven't
Sure.
been there like in like I don't know 5 years. I don't know if that's changed, but there's just nothing happening
Right.
there.
Yeah.
But I knew I would always wanted to leave. And the first big city that I moved to when I was 20 was Madrid, Spain.
Wow.
Which I know that you've been there.
Amazing.
And that is quite the change from
Yes.
Oklahoma. So like, I thought I was never going back home. And my family was like, "Come back home, or I'm gonna sell your car.
Oh.
Come back home, or I'm gonna cut you off." I was like, "That's fine, bitch. I don't need any of that.
Like, you don't need any of
I
that.
didn't need anything. I was living the life, and like, again, coming from like always knowing that I had to leave because I couldn't feel like I was out all throughout high school. Like
Sure.
I dated a girl in middle school. I dated I fake dated a girl in like
Same.
as a junior.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was in on it. I had that, like, so what is that called? Lavender relationship?
Something like that.
at,
Yeah.
at 16, 15.
Hey, just
and
get through.
I was like, I felt so shackled and it was no way to live.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, it's okay. Just make it to the finish line. Make it to the finish
Yep.
line.
Yep.
I had no gay experiences, and I was like, from that I went to OU, which is like, like it's college. There's plenty of gay people that come from all over the.
And did you cheer? Or did I, make
cheered.
that up?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I was a cheerleader. I think you
got
made fun of me
this.
quite a bit for that.
That is
But
so
like,
cool.
it's honestly the coolest thing that I did in college.
my
I'm so
God.
glad I
I
did
think
it.
that's why I made fun of you, because I was jealous.
Because probably. I had like
That's
a built-in
incredible.
community. I loved those years as
Yeah.
cheer, and I was so sad when I finished for cheerleading only, not for like leaving Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But great times. But from there, I went to Madrid, and I was like, holy shit.
But how did you get this opportunity to go to Madrid? You just decided to travel there, or you knew that it was the gay mecca?
I honestly had no idea. I was so ignorant living in Oklahoma that I thought that Spain was just another part of, not geographically,
Sure.
but like another part of Mexico.
Wow.
I get you.
And I showed up like, where are the burritos and tacos? And they're like,
Totally.
that's Mexico, dumbass. And I was like, okay, I'll take this jamon instead, like whatever. But
Oklahoma does the best they can.
a friend, no, they do not. They don't even try.
They don't even
But it's enough for them, so it's fine.
That's fine.
But a good friend of mine was studying in Nice, France, and I was like, his boyfriend was like, should we go to Spain? Because my grandmother, the European from Germany, was like, you need to learn another language. It's so important.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, it's not. Everybody speaks English.
You're right.
Yeah.
But I took Spanish. And I was like, fine, like I'll take Spanish and minor it in college because it sounds good. And then my friend was like, let's go to Spain. I was like, sure. I've never been on a plane, but let's go to Spain.
Right.
That was your
And
first.
so that was my first. No, I lie. I went to Florida. I went to Disneyland or Disney
Okay.
World.
Yeah.
But my
First
second
international
flight
trip.
to go
Wow,
to,
that's crazy.
had to get a passport and everything, like all these things I didn't even know existed. But when I got there, I was like wide-eyed. like I'd never had a sleepless night. I'd never
Wow.
I experienced so many firsts there, and I think
Sure.
that's the reason why it's like more home to me than Oklahoma at this
amazing.
point, because I just had so many like authentic, genuine connections with so many people that were, I didn't feel judged for some reason.
Sure.
But that's how I ended up there, and a year went by from my study abroad, and I was like, I'm not going home.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna defer my acceptance of PT school, and I stayed because I was like, I had like every other month I had a different Spanish boyfriend. And I was like, I love them and they love me. And like,
Yes.
I'm so in love. It didn't work out. I'm in love again. Like, it was just like so many experiences at like age like 20 that I was like, this is incredible.
Well, sometimes when we get out of high school, or maybe we're still in high school, and we find this sort of way of expressing our queerness or our sexuality, we want to catch up, right? We've seen, especially if you've had brothers and sisters go through multiple relationships and have that sort of teen fantasy of dating someone. I mean, it surrounded us in media, entertainment, around our lives, and then you finally have this way of exploring it yourself. And it's in Madrid, of all places.
I mean, and you know how it just crazy. I think the next best place would be like Rio or something,
Yeah,
where you're
sure.
just
Very
like, wow, this
similar.
is crazy.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
crazy new world that I could not have imagined up. And here we are, just with like the reins are off,
Yep.
like the shackles
Wow.
are off. I can do whatever I want. And I
So-
think I really found myself there. Yeah.
How did you decide it was time to put the shackles back on and
Come back and go to
education?
Houston, Texas.
Yes.
I was bullied by my family to come. You know, they just want the safe route, which
Sure,
is come
right.
back, go to school, get your degree, be a physical therapist.
You've gone through such an interesting experience being from Oklahoma
Yes.
and being biracial. And I feel like you never, I mean, I had been not with you 24/7, but you've never made it like baggage that you carry, at least around other people, at least to me. I feel like, I don't know, it can be probably a lot to process some of those things. But then again, you had your brothers and sisters who were kind of protecting you. So do you feel like, 'cause I feel like for me, I'm white and grew up in a Southern Baptist, environment, and I still feel like I carry that with me all the time. But maybe, do you feel like something in your situation helped you to not feel so burdened by that, or do you feel like you just don't live with that on a day-to-day basis?
I think what I've realized recently is that I'm really good at ignoring emotions and just being like, I'll do that later. I'll deal with that later. I've gone through a lot of loss, a lot of crazy things that you would expect in Oklahoma.
Sure.
And I remember one time you came to my apartment, actually in Beverly Hills, and I had that, that column bookshelf.
Yeah.
And you're like, so many self-help books. Are you okay? And I was like, wow. What's wrong with self-growth and expansion? Like, how is that
clearly
a
the
date?
first few didn't work for you.
Wow.
I've
He was
just started my journey. That was 2020. So it's through like different books that kind of open your
Sure.
eyes to your habits. I'm like, wow, I was blindly carrying that type of baggage around and just being like, oh, I don't care. I don't care that they're
Yes.
racist in my high school. Like, it doesn't affect me. I don't ever
Right.
think about it.
Right.
But in a way, I had just simply blocked it out.
Right.
And of course, it comes up when and the way that you interact with friends and interact with go on like a Tinder date and you're like, what are they going to say? If all these things that I had the insecurities about, like I feel like just recently I've gotten over like the whole recently, but like last 5 years, gotten over the fact that I mean, you know how the stigma is in like being
For
gay,
sure.
like being black, being a minority in the gay world is not as easy
Right.
as being a white. It's just
Yeah.
For sure.
let's
That's just the way
face
it
it.
is.
And so I guess now I don't care, but like I didn't realize that I did care because I
Yeah.
was just like, oh, I would just feel certain things without even
Right.
acknowledging them, which
Right.
is kind of crazy.
I
But that was an
mean-
adaptation, like a way to survive, I guess.
Right. And I feel like that's what I was trying to touch on is, again, you're always positive. And so my question, like you mentioned, is where do you do with that negative energy? And you know, for some of us, the best thing to do is to ignore it
Right.
and to find a way to just get through the moment. But it seems like you've been on a journey of processing it at your time and at your pace, which is what I think is probably the most healthy approach. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to ignore negativity as it comes to you, especially when you're dealing with school or living in a place you don't want to be or dealing with other personal traumas or issues. But deciding, hey, I'm going to start addressing these issues at the time that works for me. Is that kind of what your process was, or?
That's what it's become,
Yeah.
I would say, because now I know that you have to, I don't want to say hold space because of the whole wicked.
Right.
You
Honestly,
have
we're running
to-
out of words.
I know.
That's true. We're running out of phrases,
Yes.
words.
But like something I just cannot say with a straight face.
Right.
But I have to give them attention. I have
Sure.
to acknowledge them, and I
Yeah.
have to just be like, okay, this is what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Why are you actually feeling it? What's the original feeling coming from?
Right.
Because obviously every emotion is like it has an impulse attached to it,
Right.
and we have to identify why my impulse is this.
Right.
And so that's kind of become a fun thing for me because honestly, I've never done it before.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
trying to have some type of meta awareness of my emotional, the way I handle my emotions and those
Right.
experiences. So I guess that's my process is like, okay, I feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
What is this?
Yeah.
Why do I feel it? Can I at least label it? Can I unpack it? Can I trace it back to the original problem?
Right.
And then try to be like, okay, that's what that is. Wow, I guess I do have trauma from back in 2000. Well, I'm not actually say the date, but
Right.
back in
When
like,
I was 4.
back when back in Oklahoma, and let me like, okay, that was stupid.
Right.
Let me like, okay, I'm better than that now. I don't want to carry this forward into my friendships, my relationships, my working relationships, or anything. So that's what I've tried to actively do, and in a way, like I said, it's kind of fun because I do want to be a person that like raises consciousness of
Yeah, right,
everyone. I
right.
want everyone to feel seen and feel loved,
Right.
and that starts with self-love.
Right. I was
And
gonna say.
if you're not
Mm-hmm.
even like acknowledging yourself or giving your like, if I'm ignoring my emotions, then
Right.
I'm not gonna be able to do that.
And emotions, like you said, are insights into how we're feeling, and they're meant to kind of give us a brief, hey, look at this is how I'm feeling, but this is not you. You're not the emotion,
sure.
right? And that's what I've been trying to process in the last few years, and really probably the last year, because I've really separated my relationship with my family, which has brought up a lot of anger. And a lot of my family members over time have used anger as their biggest defense mechanism, which I've learned. And so I deal with a lot of anger instead of like sadness or issues when I'm trying to dig deep into my trauma. So learning how to say, I'm not angry, this is what's making me angry,
Right.
and how do I
Yeah.
process that? And that's one of the things I'm a bit jealous of your strategy, because you've always been not angry.
Literally never.
Literally.
Never angry.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember the most traumatic incident that happened to the both of us?
I'm
Or
scared
did you
to
put it in the way deep back?
I'm
in
sure
your-
I have it in. Wait, what is it? Where was
car?
it? I wasn't angry. I don't think.
At all. I think I was more angry.
Like, what happened?
So we got into an accident
Yeah.
in Houston, and actually everyone was angry but you.
And it was my car,
It
and
was
I
your
was
car.
driving,
Like, yeah.
and
No one got hurt,
no one got hurt.
but the biggest angry person was your sister, because we went to Dave and Buster's right after.
we did. It's like we forgot what
We did.
happened.
Well, we decided at this point, because again, I think this was your energy feeding the situation, because
Look
you
at
were
that.
like,
talk about avoiding problems.
right.
Let's
You
go
were
Dave and
like-
Buster's.
You were like, let's not let this phase. I mean, we all were,
I
right?
love that.
We literally after the accident, we're like, let's just go play some video games.
And I literally didn't think about it until after. when
Yeah, I mean, but
I was
what
getting
could you have
cussed out
done?
again.
Right, yeah.
I got
It's-
cussed out. every 5 minutes.
But listen, your sister is so beautiful. If she's cursing at you, at least, I mean, I don't know. I just love being in her presence. Please tell her I said hello.
I will tell
She has
her.
an
She
aura.
lives down the street from me. We should all have dinner.
I would love that.
She is as insane as you remember, but in a good way.
She's incredible. She
best
braided my
way.
hair once. I will
Really?
never
I
forget
remember that as
day.
well. I was like, we turned him. He is now no longer a snow bunny. He is gonna be black.
A dream come true.
You know, we could have done blackface. Had you tan, that would have been a
Oh my
moment for
God.
you.
This would have gotten me super canceled.
You know, they weren't canceling people back then.
That's
You'd have been
right.
put on
You're
back then.
So okay,
Yeah.
we last ended and you were in Madrid, and then you came back to Oklahoma and then went to Houston for school, like right away.
So I literally pushed. I didn't want to come back so bad that I booked the last flight that I could to still make orientation of physical therapy
Wow.
school, because they're like, if you don't come, your spot will be given away.
Wow.
And I was like, you bitches. So I get off a plane, don't have a home, don't have a car, and I just wheel my luggage to the orientation. I know no one. They've met each other at like pre-whatevers, and I'm just sitting there like so awkwardly, like, I don't want to be here. I'm jet lagged, and I'm in Houston. And I didn't know what I signed up for.
Yeah.
I remember getting like deboarding, or deplaning, whatever you call it, in the tunnel. It was so sticky and humid, and it was unheard of. And I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Welcome
And
to
so I was just
Houston.
like, I'm gonna hate it here. I'm gonna hate it. I'm like, no, Jordan, you're not gonna hate it here. And I went there, and I just was like, I hate it here. I really tried, and I really tried, but I was like, get me out of here. I'd finish every final, and I would get on a plane and go back to Spain.
Wow.
Wow.
I would carry my suitcase into my finals and go straight to the airport afterwards. I definitely didn't want to be there. I felt, again, I had so much of a strong connection there because I felt so seen. And
Right.
back in Texas, it's just more of Oklahoma,
Right.
Yeah.
even
I
in
felt-
Houston.
I felt similar, and we talked about this in previous episodes, but the first time I went to a gay bar, I was 15, and I was still in high school.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah, it was great, but there are some drawbacks. So I snuck in. The problem was, very similarly, I had this connection to this queer space and these queer people. And then my 9 to 5 Monday through Friday was a Christian high school where everyone was that.
Yeah.
The double life.
Right. I
Yeah.
just didn't fit in. So I was so drawn to this newness and this feeling of acceptance and people like me and learning how to be more like them and feel if I could see them accept each other and accept me, maybe I could accept me more. So I was really drawn, and that energy of like wanting to be somewhere else when you can't is very difficult to navigate.
Yeah, you're like torn.
Yeah.
You're like, where do I go?
Right. And you just can't feel settled. You never
Yeah.
feel quite
Yeah, exactly.
quite settled in your space. Do you feel when I came into the picture in Houston that just all changed for you and I really, brought light into your life and made you feel more happy?
I was in a very dark place before you. No, I mean, by the time you came, it was year 3.
You're about done.
So I was like, fine. I had I had a boyfriend ish. You know, Pedro.
I love
And-
Pedro. Shout out, Pedro.
Shout out to Pedro, that's what we'll leave that at. But I was happy there. I was like, I had my good friends, Nora. Like,
I knew
Nora's
Nora.
the best.
Amazing friends.
And I had my community.
Yeah,
Just like in Spiro, I knew I was going to leave very soon,
Right,
right
sure.
after.
sure.
And yeah, like I didn't like the gay scene there. So like I didn't feel the same connection and like
Sure.
the openness, like the wide arms, like, hey, come here,
Sure.
we love you no matter what, whatever. I just didn't find that community in
I mean,
Houston.
once you experience Spain,
Yeah, it's hard
Madrid,
I mean,
everything
yeah,
is
it's
so
different.
liberal. People are so open-minded there. Then you come back here,
Houston-
especially
yeah,
Texas.
and then back to Spiro where you're like,
to. Right.
all right, I'm not like them. How can I fit in?
right.
Right.
And fitting in is not the goal. It's what does
Yeah.
Brene Brown say? It's belonging is different than
Right.
fitting in.
Right.
And I didn't feel normal. It's like you said, going
Right.
to the gay club, then going to like whatever. Did you have fifth quarter? And do you know what fifth quarter was?
Fifth quarter.
It's like after any sport, there's
no.
like
Right.
you don't have to play to experience it. Like say there's
No.
a football game in your small town, then there's like it ends in it's 4
Sure,
quarters.
sure.
The fifth quarter is like literally
Extra.
worship.
Oh.
So you go to somebody's church and worship. And that's what the popular kids did. So
Wow.
you want to go do that. And
Right.
you're like, Jesus doesn't like me.
Right.
So,
That's
so,
certainly.
so there's so much. You're torn in so
Yeah.
many directions. You're like,
Yep.
where the hell do I go? Like, am I like a good person? Am I doing
Right.
something wrong? Do I need to be fixed? And it got better and better,
Right.
and it tended to fade. It faded as I guess went on, because then I moved to Miami, which is a little different, and like I kind of found myself.
It was your first real big relationship in Miami too, right? I mean, would you
Yeah.
say it was like your first?
For sure. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
Playing
Yeah.
stepdaddy, which I loved doing. I will say I did.
You were a
actually
father.
enjoy. I was a father. That was crazy.
To triplets.
To triplets. And, I don't want to. We'll leave it at the triplets, but
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
I was like, you know what? I want to be a dad by 28. And I'm going to manifest this. So then I meet this guy, and I'm like, great. He has everything that I want.
For sure.
He's also Portuguese, which my ex-boyfriend was like Portuguese. And I'm
There's
like,
a
I speak
theme.
Portuguese. Like, this is meant to be. Like, it couldn't be any.
Wow.
This is literally ordained. So, like, I was obsessed with him. And
I remember.
you remember, bitch? I know you remember, because I was psychotic.
And
But anyway, I loved it. I was like, "Oh, you need help changing diapers? I already know how to change diapers. My sister had a baby at 16, and I can change.
Yeah.
I can change a diaper with the best
Wow.
of them." And I was just like in that world, like so
Wow.
heavy. Went at 28, literally. Honestly, we met before that. It was like 27,
Wow.
20, 25. It was actually, and we were just like, my life was work or school at that point, and then on the weekends I would take care of the kids, go to a birthday party, and I was like, this is fun, time to go
Fun.
back to work or to school. And I'm like, is this my life? This is what I wanted.
wow.
Well, I think we
And-
all paint that sort of picture, at least at some point, especially if you're growing up watching your brothers and sisters have kids and develop these
Sure.
families. And then also, you kind of get an easy way in and out when you're dating someone who has kids, because you can say, well, I can be a dad when I want to and
Right.
then not. And then as the relationship unfolds, you get more attached. And then, of course,
For
that's
sure.
your choice, right? But at the
For
beginning, you
sure.
can say, how's this going?
Exactly. I felt
Yeah.
so much freedom in that moment, but I'm like, I have it if I want it.
Right.
I can walk away if I don't. But
Sure.
I would say I like always wanted it.
You did.
And I was in it, like
I remember.
100%. I wasn't like, is this what I was like,
But
this
that's
is what I
great.
want, which was crazy. And that's because, I mean, background on my family, like my mom is from Germany, came when she was 15, and she met this guy like after she went to college at like 16, because their schools are so much more advanced. So this
Right.
toxic 6'7" black guy is like, I'm gonna fuck your life up. And she's like, okay. So she got pregnant right then.
Well, you
And
guys really
then
are related, you and your mom.
popping. She shot out 6 kids in 6 years, and
Wow, that's crazy.
we were just like, that's where we were like living and
Yeah.
existing in this space of like a toxic relationship that I was like, this is definitely the relationship that I don't want to have.
Right.
I want to pursue something that is solid and filled with love and honesty and like trust. And so with that person, I was like, this is that for me.
Yeah, it feels
I'm
like
choosing this.
Yeah, I feel like too, when responsibility is sort of attaching you with your partner and you're able to both manage it well and foster it, it's almost like, oh, this is definitely where I'm supposed to be. This is
Right.
checking all the boxes.
felt like that.
And so did it feel like sometimes, because I've dated people in the past where I almost felt like I was more attracted and interested in their family life and their family dynamic, because I didn't have that growing up, and my parents weren't, it didn't feel like they were going to be super supportive of me being in a queer relationship. So sometimes I would like meet a guy that I was dating's family and be like, oh, I like his family, so I'm going to stay here.
But they love me, accepted,
Yeah.
safety.
Finally,
Yeah.
you know? Did it feel
Yeah.
kind of like ever in the relationship where you're like, I think maybe I like the kids more than
I was in it to win it. And I feel like
You
I'm
were.
in every relationship to win it. If
You are.
I'm not, then I'm not in the relationship. Like, I
Yeah.
literally just won't date you. And if I'm in it, it's because I want to be there and because I see a clear path to a healthy future.
Sure.
But it was definitely, I loved the family. Like, his mom was there. She was great. She was present. He was like an amazing dad. And I was like, this is my perfect life.
Yeah.
In Miami, these beautiful kids and like this beautiful man who has his shit together. But then something started to not feel right at the end. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to not succeed at this relationship. This is what I've always wanted. Don't
Right.
throw it away.
Right.
And I've learned to listen to those inklings
Sure.
as I've gotten older. But yeah, the family life tricked me.
It's interesting because
Not tricked. That sounds fucked up. It
No,
didn't trick
I know
me,
what you
know
mean. It's enticing, but I
Yeah.
think too it gets a little hazy sometimes when you've been in a relationship for so long and you've put so much time in, and you don't really know when is it the point to say, I really think we're both going to do best apart, even though we've been together an X amount of time, or it felt right for so long. Was there something that you were like, oh, today is the day, or something like came off in your
During that relationship?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't mean to specifically talk about that relationship, but any relationship that you've been in where you were like, oh, the timing and all the stuff we put in, it doesn't matter now because I know my best future is going to be away from this situation. Because I think there's a lot of people who are probably in relationships where they're very comfortable, they like X, Y, and Z, but there's something in the back of their heads like, this isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't right.
Looking back, and can see a piece of that at the end of every relationship that meant something to me. But there was one particularly that was, when it ended, I had two lingering thoughts that were massive. I didn't know what to do with them. And number one was, when he was gone for like a week, I was like, wait, who was this person? And what do I miss about them? I felt like I didn't know them at all. But 2 weeks before that, I was like, I love this person. I'll do anything for this person. Like, we're like, this is it for me.
Yeah.
But after that, I was like, wait, I feel like I know nothing of substance about this person. I'm like, how did I get to this point where I'm just like, what did we do?
Right,
what did we talk about? I had no idea who this person was. And number two was, how did I let myself get to the point where my identity was wrapped up in in the fact that I'm dating this person.
Right.
And I was like, that is some crazy shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to unpack this. And that's when you saw all those books at my house.
Yeah.
And that's also when I took my first, and was historically anti-drugs, took my first psychedelic journey.
Well, that can be considered medicinal. We're in California.
It was definitely medicinal with a
Yes.
psychiatrist.
Yeah,
And a dear friend.
for sure.
Who actually works in like the ketamine therapy space. I started doing like guided things for
Yeah.
people that I care about.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
And it's been, it's been groundbreaking for them.
Wow.
And whatever phase they're in, it always comes up in a way that they are ready for.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking, should I do it? That's enough right there to tell
Right.
you that you should be doing it.
Right.
But I vowed at the end of that relationship that I was like, I'm never going to like grow in a relationship as like one.
Right.
Right.
I want to be like two parallel
Mm-hmm.
entities that are separate, very
Sure.
together, but have their own life
Right.
and their own friends, but they're just like, they've chosen to be together. They don't lean on each other. They don't need each other. They're there when they need each other, but they're always going up the same direction. I don't like going here and then stopping. Like,
Right.
let's just go this way. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what I have now, and I feel like it's my longest, healthiest relationship. I'm obviously engaged now, and like
Oh.
it's like, who would have thought?
Not me.
And
I'm kidding. Of course.
yeah, exactly.
I knew. I mean, you. I feel like attract really positive energy, like yourself, and so I mean, I feel like every person that you've dated that I've met is just like you, and very nice, very kind, bag
Thank
full of
you.
energy, positivity. So it's only a matter of time before you got locked out.
I know. How did it happen?
You're also very
he must have
nurturing.
tricked me.
I mean, it's just even talking about how you've been guiding some people through these experiences and also your sort of attraction towards being a parent. You've always had that very nurturing energy. Do you see that at all?
I mean, I've started to notice it for sure as I've
Yeah.
done like more like reflection on what I do, but I just enjoy making people feel seen and cared for and loved and like safe.
So we left you in Miami and somehow you ended up in LA and engaged. So can we fill the gap?
Okay.
What happens between
So
then?
there's so many things that I've skipped around and skipped. Yeah, I moved after I broke up. We ended that relationship.
Right.
Then I moved to LA because my sister Veronica, that lived
Years.
here, and I was like, I want to be closer to family, and so I moved. And it was me, and I think all my siblings were living in California at that time.
Amazing.
So it was like, why not?
Right.
Was that a time that was like probably the first time you would all been together since Oklahoma? I
For
would
sure.
assume, right?
There's like been very key, like since 2010, I moved in 2018. That was the first time that all the siblings were in one space.
Wow.
And so that was a big moment, and I can count those moments on my hand. But since after we
Sure.
went off to college, and so I started working as a PT like here finally, and I met that crazy toxic guy. I'm not gonna blame him for the things, but a lot of the things were we were just bad for each other. And I'm trying to think, what was I supposed to learn from this relationship? Because I think that everything's supposed to teach us something.
Right, for
But
sure.
I guess I would say that he like magnified the if something's not for you, don't ignore it type
Right.
thing. And
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, wait, but that sex is good and like
That will loop you in every
good arm
time.
candy. I was like, I had to move beyond that.
I think
But-
too, you're like me, like we both like to be in a relationship. We like to spend time with one person to really build
Yes,
that
one
quality
person.
and build that connection. And I
Yeah.
feel like, because I think too, when you're in a situation where you've been in school for so long, you've met so many people, your time is so valuable that when you're spending it with someone, you really want to foster something. And so I see a lot of that in you. And I think that's why we connected too and spent
For
a lot of
sure.
time
Yeah.
fostering our friendship, because we knew we would be doing a podcast 12 years
You
later.
know, that's exactly what we've been prepping for, and it's finally here as we
Finally
planned and said. Check my journal.
Exactly. So you had a not so great relationship,
The
taught you some
worst
stuff.
relationship. And then I was like, damn, that was toxic. But it was so exciting and so thrilling. I was like, damn, I need to not want that.
Right.
And so later when I met Andre, my fiance, I remember like our first solo trip together was to Hawaii, and we're just like,
Oh.
you know, chilling, like in Maui. You weren't there at the time, but
Did you know our first trip together was also to Maui?
it was.
Yeah.
No, I know you lived there, right?
Yeah, we
Right.
we're there a lot. We have a condo there that we rent
Still,
out.
nice.
Well, 3
Rich
weeks after we
things.
met, we traveled to Hawaii, Maui.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It's a
It's a beautiful
place.
place.
Yeah,
You know,
it is.
it was that for us. It was beautiful. It was great. We played tennis every day. We like walked on
Wow.
the beach, and
Cool.
I remember thinking, laying next to him, I was like, things are going so well. I wasn't used to that. I was like, I should start a fight.
Just certified.
And then I was like, damn, like talking to myself, I'm like, damn, I really am crazy. And I was like, no,
We
that's
really are
stupid. That's
similar.
crazy. Don't do that, Jordan. Like, because I did actually start a fight by accident. It was by accident. I'm like, wait, was it subconscious or was it? Anyway. And so I just realized, I was like, okay, this toxic relationship was like 70, like as far as like a rating, and then down to like a 0.5,
Sure.
and then back up to like 60. And I'm like, great, this high seems so high, even though it's still shit, because I was just at 0.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to deal with 85,
Wow.
90 all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, how boring. Everything's perfect.
Everything's great.
Everything's perfect. I need to start a fight. And that was a lot of growth for me. When I'm
Yeah.
like, how do I sit in this moment and just enjoy it, because this is what I want.
Right,
and
I do that too, even to sometimes to recently. I think it's a defense mechanism of making sure that the person that I'm with is committed to me. I'll like, especially when I'm angry, I'll like try to pick a fight and like see how far I can push this guy or whoever I'm dating to
Hey,
see
what do
like,
you do?
you know, and he's like, why? You're getting mad at nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing
You
to
and
be
then I
mad
get
at.
mad.
And then he gets mad.
It takes time, but then when I get mad, I get really mad.
Well, sometimes it doesn't take much time.
You're like,
the
great,
best.
this is exactly what I wanted.
You know, it's
Can't
what
wait for the makeup sex.
Yes. You know, that does end up being quite beneficial.
And
at
that
the
was your
end.
plan the whole time.
yeah.
Usually. But, you know, arguments are meant to happen. I think sometimes it's finding those healthy ways to let them occur, not like
sure.
forcing it. But I think for me in past relationships and trying to analyze why I would start issues is because I wanted to like prove that they were going to leave anyways. Like I was going to do something
sure.
that made them mad enough to where this was going to happen, and I'm
Here's
saving
your
myself
out, take
time.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saving myself time. That's always what I've been my like motto dating before we
Were you
met.
doing that like consciously, or were you like,
I probably would ebb and flow, right? I think if things were fine, if I was stressed with something else, but if I had nothing to be stressed about, it's like, what can I, poke myself for? It's like you get addicted to that stress. And I think queer people specifically were under stress from such a young age, trying to
sure.
hide things and deny things. And we go through such a stressful experience growing up that you get addicted to that stress. Especially in relationships, because the majority of the time you're supposed to not even be dating a man or be with a man, so it's stressful.
yeah,
And learning how to figure out where to put that is a job in itself.
I would
But
agree for sure.
I would love if you would convince your fiance to come back with you sometime. And
You know, I
and
was
talk
going to ask if you
us.
wanted him to be here, because
Yeah,
I think experiencing this for what it is right now, I'm like, this is actually really like, he would do so well at this.
and then
he
they could
would
chat in some Portuguese.
Oh yeah. We only
talk
speak
shit and
Portuguese.
like, you know, I speak Portuguese from Portugal, so the Portuguese from Brazil, sometimes I just don't understand.
Oh, it's very different. We
Is
went
he
to
from Brazil?
Portugal.
He's from Brazil.
Oh, he's from Brazil.
He's from Brazil.
We went to Portugal, and I tried to speak Portuguese there, and I couldn't speak
He got
Portuguese.
declined.
I had to speak English in Portugal because I could
They're
not
like,
understand.
no, you don't know how to speak.
I was like,
They're
wow,
like, babe,
all
you're
of
not-
this
wrong
talk.
country. You're like, are you lying to me?
Yeah.
Who are you?
It was just the
Literally.
accent, and they would speak so fast, I just couldn't understand.
It's different.
And they speak English there. Everyone that we
Yeah.
talk to
English,
speak
yeah.
English. So
Yeah. Where's he from?
Dre's from
I'm
Fortaleza.
pointing like he's there.
wow,
Like,
we've been
We
to
just went to
Fortaleza.
Fortaleza.
wait, really?
Yes, we
He-
went to Jericoacoara as well. It's
I-
like a 4 hours
It's his
drive.
hometown. I've never been.
So
Oh, wow.
I wanted to go to Brazil, but I have antisocial, social anxiety stuff. So I was really worried and nervous to go to Rio. I thought it would be super intense, and I get nervous with people
Really?
like stealing stuff from me, and I
You are very
I
OCD
watched
in your way.
a little bit.
He's white.
Undercover OCD.
A little bit.
He's white. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. You have to, he has, he has no spice.
Yeah,
He's like, you're the only
exactly.
spice in his life.
So I was like, let's tiptoe our way into Brazil by going to like a smaller city and like just let me kind of
I'm so jealous
see.
you went there.
So we went to Fortaleza, beautiful, great place.
Wait,
Went
say
to
it again?
Fortaleza?
That's great.
Is that wrong? Did I mess that up?
I've just never heard it pronounced that way, so it's nice. So I just wanted to hear it's
Shade.
endearing. It's not
Wow,
endearing.
I can't wait to
well,
have you back with your partner.
With Andrezinho.
Would he come back? Would you guys come back?
I think that we would, because I feel
That would
like
be so
he can give
cool.
perspective in me that I can't about myself. He's taught me so much, and I would
For
love.
sure. Yeah.
Like, he's just so much more emotionally intelligent than I am.
Oh, I disagree. I think you're much more emotionally intelligent than you led on to be.
I think I'm
Aw.
energetically intelligent, and
I think that you are I think being a physical therapist was a great career path for you. I feel like you could have been a dancer. Anything that has to do with like body and like, I mean, maybe I can't say you can dance well, but I feel like you're a great, I feel like you're
Yeah,
really
it's in these
great
moves.
with instructing people and their body and like making them feel safe and comfortable. And I truly feel like you maybe aren't the best like me at communicating with words.
yeah.
but you have a very, again, it's that, what word did I use earlier?
Nurture.
Nurture. That was it.
I am.
Nurturing.
I am a
soul.
nurturer. I'm starting to realize that about myself with my patients. How do I feel about my patients is I feel like most of them, some get on my nerves, but the ones that have come for a while, like I genuinely feel like I wouldn't say I love them. Like, wow, you're family,
I
you're
get
friends.
you.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have love for them, and
Right.
I want them to reach their peak.
Mhm.
And I'm not just speaking physically.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, they're coming in for PT, but I'm also like, let's talk about your past lives.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting the dynamic that you can have with patients because like you mentioned, you're like, it's like you're really friendly but not friends. You love them but you don't love them.
Yeah.
It's a interesting.
Yeah, I don't wanna hang out with them.
Right.
But I
But
want
you care
to
and
help
you,
them.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
and you
soar.
want to be able to see them succeed. They don't really teach us much about that in training either, like how to have successful relationships with your patients.
Because there are lots of autistic surgeons, and like
Yeah.
I've seen it all. And I'm like, wait, you can never work for me.
I don't think you could even give them the gratification of being autistic. I think it's just like egomaniacal.
I mean, that too.
And,
Personality, narcissist, there's a lot of
personality
that, like-
disorder. But in their defense, residency in that specific realm, and I'm sure your partner could agree, in the surgical realm is torture. They go through like slavery in some capacity as well.
They're paid pennies.
Yeah, and not it's just the interactions you have with other people who are so demeaning for no reason, and that's a whole nother issue with the education system in regarding to healthcare and how physicians are trained. But they definitely don't give us any attention on that. They barely give us lunch.
And they don't give you shit. They don't give you anything. I'm just shocked. I'm like, we can't stand for this.
Yeah,
He's like, it's just the way it's been done.
it's just the way
I'm
it's
like,
been done.
I will ruffle feathers.
This
I will
is-
cause a riot. I will like march.
Yeah.
I will do all the things.
That's one of the reasons I went into primary care too, just the ability to find a residency program after you're done with 4 years of medical school, like where you can breathe a little bit, because beyond primary care, it's so competitive to get into a placement that once you get there, they feel like, they can really treat you however they want. And
Yeah. And I think that he's like now past that. And that's
Sure.
why like he's going to do a fellowship this year because he's finishing residency finally.
Wow.
And like 2 months. Thank
Crazy.
fuck. Like, it's been so
It is.
hectic. I'm like jealous of residency. But he's done, and
It's tough.
it's tough. But he's doing fellowship. We're moving back to Barcelona, actually.
He's going to do a
Amazing.
fellowship there.
He's gonna do a fellowship there for a
Wow.
year. So we're moving back to
What a full circle.
my homeland.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, when I left there, I was like, you know what? I told you my family bullied me. They're like, just come back and work, and then if you want to go back after, you can go. And I'm like,
They
well, I
better
am
go.
poor
Yeah.
here, so let me
Yeah.
go now that I'm, as I put it earlier, unpoor.
Unpoor.
And I
like
will go
that.
do everything that I wanted to do at the level that I want to do it. And I'm happy that I get to do it with somebody that's like, you want to do this? Great. Let's
Wow.
pursue your
Amazing.
dream. Let's do this. Let's do this. He's just like the most
Very
supportive
yeah.
type of partner that you just literally perfect on paper, perfect in real life.
Amazing.
Nothing less. You shouldn't settle for anything less.
I
No one
wouldn't.
should.
Honestly, I would
I'm-
never. And I would never encourage anybody to. The second somebody comes to me for advice, I'm like,
Don't
Thanks.
settle.
there's better out there. There's better out there. Well, maybe not for you, but
Well, hopefully you have a spare room in Spain so you can
for sure.
come and visit.
I would love that.
But in the meantime, we probably should hang out here since you live down the road.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
do it.
easier.
And thanks for being here, and we will see you next time.
All right.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Obrigado,
De nada.
Fortaleza.
Fortaleza. Okay.